I'd like to talk about is not being defined or hiding behind labels. There are many ways you can hide behind a label. The most common one I see is using your background as your excuse. Now I'm going to give a comical example, but you will find people do this in real life. So somebody might say, oh, my father's a lumberjack and my grandfather's a lumberjack. Therefore I have to be a lumberjack. Therefore I have to chop wood and drink rum in a bar, and so on and so forth. Again, it's a comical example, but you'll be surprised the number of people who say, oh, I'm Scottish, therefore I've got to wear a kilt. My point being is, do not let yourself be defined by, well, one, don't use your background as an excuse. For once in your fucking life, be an individual. Choose to be an individual. Now, if you want to be a lumberjack, fine. But don't be a lumberjack because your father and forefathers are lumberjack. That's very limiting. In my own case, people see me as an intellectual and creative guy, which I am. But what people do not know about me is that my father's actually very working class. What people do not know about me, though you could never tell by when you speak to me, is that both of my parents could not speak English very well. But you could never tell that about me. Part of the reason for that is that I made a choice. Not to piss on my parents, don't get me wrong, but I made a choice not to be limited. Just because, in the case of my prehistorics, just because they chose a certain life path did not commit me to choose the same or similar one. I chose to be different. And frankly, I'm glad I chose to be different because it was very liberating. When you make the decision that you're going to sit in the pilot's seat of your life, then you can be anything you want to be. It's when you decide to be limited by either because of your background or other people saying that, oh, you're a maths nerd, you know nothing about acting, for example. It's when you limit yourself to other people's pigeonholes, is that when you travel a very narrow path. If you reject all these other limitations people will want to put you in, then literally it can be anything you want. I mean, in my case, not only am I creative, but I can do maths. And while in the conventional mind, that is a contradiction, it is not a contradiction in my mind because I reject the division. By the way, I believe that film director Christopher Nolan is quite competent in analytical as well as creative. And you will find that Albert Einstein, for instance, though he emphasized more his analytical abilities, he still had a creative side. The Nobel Prize winning physicist Richard Feynman, who's dead now, he famously played bongo drums. He wasn't a professional musician, but he was a Nobel laureate physicist as well. So my point is, do not hide behind labels. Do not let other people label you and you slavishly dictate yourself according to those labels. Be your own person. Sit in the pilot seat of your life and you define yourself and don't let the world define you.